Hey everyone, so in this video I'm just going to go over how I go about rating some of these Jacki teams. Jacki is a new leader toon that gives plus 50% HP to all alert and fast teammates and can apply Confuse to all enemies for one turn, making her the newest RNG leader. I guess the first RNG leader that we saw was Angel, who could apply Daze to the enemy as a leadership skill, followed by Mercer and now Jacki. I suspect that we'll probably get more RNG leaders moving forward. I do suspect that eventually we'll get a camo leader who will apply camo to the whole team for 1 or 2 turns, but we don't know anything about that yet, so we're kind of just playing the waiting game. Anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel for more content and information. Now, I did do a video on Jacki before, and I've kind of gone over her, but just as a recap, her rush is decent to be honest, 66 AP, all enemies get disarmed for 1 turn and minus 60% attack for 2 turns. All teammates recover from impair and get a bonus 25% HP. Disarming the enemies is huge because it means you're not going to get impacted by stun on attack weapons or impair on attack weapons. The minus 60% attack also makes attacks a lot weaker, which helps with control. Her active skill, so it goes off on the 3rd turn, so even if no one is confused, she is applying that plus 50% defense for 2 turns, which is pretty important in my opinion. That's equivalent to a toon defending or command toon commanding on a turn. So this defense boost is quite high actually, it's pretty impressive. If it was turn 2, I think Jacki would be more OP, but being a turn 3 active skill, it's a little slow, and I feel like it just doesn't work as well on defense as it probably could. When we move on to her weapon, she has a very good weapon, so a 75% chance to resist stun as well as confuse. So you don't really have to mod her for stun resist or confuse resist because she has a high chance of resisting it anyway, which means you could resist taunt instead, you could resist bleed because she has high HP. There's just a number of different things that you could go with Jacki's mod set, excluding stun and confuse resist. Having a weapon like this just opens up the number of possibilities of customization on her mod set. As an S-class, Jacki's HP, attack, and defense obviously increase. With maxed out vet ring, she has 4,398 HP. With 4,398 HP times the 50% HP from her leadership skill, multiplied by, we're going to assume that you'll upgrade her weapon so it has 50% HP, so that's times 1.3, times 1.05, times 1.05, times 1.05, times 1.05, plus we'll say a perfect platinum mod set, so 750 plus a perfect platinum HP mod. That gives a maximum HP of 12,374. Now the 12% HP to align I don't think is as ideal, because obviously being a leader toon, she would only impact herself. We could give her a team player, so the 15% attack and 35 crit if we were to use her on offense as well as defense, which is something that I know a lot of players are doing because fighting RNG leaders with an RNG leader can be quite effective. It basically just runs out the first turn on either team, so that basically the turn 2 is like turn 1 all over again, but no team has as much of an advantage or disadvantage as it would be if you did not have an RNG leader but they did. She still has the same weapon, so still very effective as a character, and it's a bit curious to me that her active skill recovers confuse when her weapon resists confuse for her team. If you applied, like if you had a focus toon on defense, you wouldn't need to worry about confuse or taunt anyway, so it's just an interesting combination anyway. So with the film I'm going to show you it at full speed as well as at half speed so that you guys can kind of see my methodology. So these are just going to be Jacki teams that are in my region. I do use my Mercer team against them because I like applying RNG to an RNG leader, and because I don't have Jacki, I need to make do with what I do have. So even though Jacki defenses give a lot of HP, I don't find them as tricky as Mercer defenses. By using my Mercer lead, I apply stun at the beginning. I had 2 toons confused to start. But the big difference here is that by stunning the enemy, it means they're not gaining any AP. But if I'm confused, even if I hit my own team, I'm still gaining AP. Another good example is if I had a confused toon and I hit my own Dr. Stevens, I've tanked out my Dr. Stevens a fair bit. So even if he loses some HP, he's still going to survive. And because of his special weapon, I could end up triggering it, which gives my team 40% AP. Well, 2 tunes 40% AP. So I just like the fact that Mercer is able to completely shut down some teams, while Jacki can cause some mayhem and obviously confusion. I feel like it would really only be a problem if I ran under pressure on my Dr. Stevens, because then I could realistically kill my own team, just because of the 250% damage reflected back. You'll notice that on this RNG team, I do have a lot of stun resist as well as confuse resist on my team, and it's just because I plan on using this RNG lead against other RNG tunes. I wouldn't use it as much against Angel, but even then I could, just because Mercer can sometimes stun the enemy. So again, by stunning the enemy, it means they're not going to be attacking, they can't use an active skill, there's nothing strange going on. It just gives me a whole layer of control. So I would honestly recommend to a lot of people, if you can get Mercer, to get him as soon as possible. Just his RNG really provides you with a big advantage. I guess another thing to note is that when you come across Jacki teams, they're very rarely going to be triggered on the first turn unless they have Dr. Stevens. The difference is with a Mercer lead, if you end up attacking anyone on that defensive team, you're likely going to trigger them because of a huge bonus to AP when taking damage. Because Jacki doesn't offer that, it makes attacking a bit safer because you're not giving them any extra AP when you do attack them. I do feel like fast rushing teams behind Jacki could be pretty effective, just because the bonus HP means that even if they trigger a payback tune, they might not end up dying from it because their HP is so high. At the same time, the attacking team usually has lower HP as well as defense, so the amount of damage that is done to the primary targets, so to the offensive team, even if it's reflected back onto the defensive team, might not be enough to actually kill the tunes. But there's a very fine balance to it all, and it can be very tricky in order to make sure you kill the offense without imploding your own defense at the same time. So far, what I've come across in region, anyone that has a Jacki lead, I haven't been struggling as much as I thought I would. Like, on paper, she seems amazing, but because of that confuse ability still allowing us to gain AP, it just becomes a bit of a mess. Now, here we have one of the tankier Jacki lead teams that I found. It's interesting because they do have Frost on this team, and obviously he does not get any HP bonus or defense bonus from a Jacki lead, but he is a very tanky tune, and I've seen some with really awesome weapons where they regain HP for every debuff that's applied to them, and that was probably one of the toughest Frosts I ever came across in War, because I just kept triggering his healing ability, because my team would impair, confuse, taunt, and so on, and it just became very tedious and difficult because you didn't want to trigger his rush either, which would revive a teammate. So I do like this type of defense because they put Rosita, who's a Bide tune, in line with Frost, but a new counter to this is not just Princess, but AJ, because if Frost did use his shield, AJ applies normalize to a line of tunes, so if anyone did pick up AJ, this is a prime example of when you can use his active skill to normalize and you know exactly who you're normalizing. I would prefer to run a focus tune on my attack team, so that's something that I've been thinking about, and to do that I might have to remove my Glen off the team and instead put like Green Ivanova, and it would be a little interesting just because I'd have to rely on using Dr. Stevens on the second turn, but I'm hoping with enough control from Mercer, I'm able to stun at least a couple tunes, and that way I don't have to worry about turn 1 rushing defense teams because I still don't have a payback attack team. I highly recommend running a turn 2 focus tune on your attack team, whether that's the free Ivanova or the free Aaron. Both of them offer a lot more than what I think people realize, and with the ability of focus, it means you can ignore human shield, so you can attack around them. You can ignore the effects of taunt as well as confuse, but you're still technically taunted or confused, meaning if you had a defense up 1 confused mod, you would still receive the extra defense from that, even though it's not impacting you. Same as attack up when taunted, even though you're focused and the taunt doesn't affect you, the attack up bonus will still apply to your tunes. This Jacki defense that I'm fighting right now is definitely a turn 1 type defense. You can tell because Dr. Stevens is on it, and Arav along with the Command Rick, who has an 8% AP weapon. So these teams can be very tricky, but if they started off stunned the whole first turn, like even though my team is confused and my Priya attacked my own team, I'm still gaining AP, which gives me that huge advantage that I need, because even though, I did damage to my own team, the other team wasn't able to gain any AP, they weren't able to rush to start, and right now I have full rushes that I'm able to utilize, especially because Dr. Stevens gives that AP to the tunes that I need. I'm able to focus on controlling the tunes that could cause me problems, so like Rick can revive on his active skill, Pete when he rushes revives and provides guardian shields, Doc when he rushes taunt and impair, Jacki when she rushes there's that disarm as well as attack down, and Arav is pure damage. Now this next team that I face is from a player in the region who has switched up their defense a few times, and it's kind of interesting to see what they go with. Here we see Minerva on defense, and I think she's quite a good tune actually. When she rushes, 75% defense buff to everyone, and then also infection to 2 tunes, which is basically a death sentence for a lot of characters. It's a bit of an interesting defense just because it is quite tanky, but there are some offensive threats, of course, in both Aaron as well as Krista. Aaron provides that focus on the second turn, which would help all the teammates like ignore, taunt, and confuse, as I mentioned before. And this film was actually going to be used for a Gal video just to show how Gal can act kind of like a Dr. Stevens at times. I was pretty lucky that I was able to recover with this team. It's just I was trying to showcase how Gal is a very effective tune still. I decided to throw Aaron in on this team because, as I mentioned, for the defensive team, that focus can be huge, especially if there's a tune on defense that can apply confuse or taunt. So mainly Princess is one of the biggest characters on defensive teams that people have that ability to normalize and taunt. So although I didn't go into this match with an RNG leader, I did go in with enough attacking power, and what I like about Erin is that she has a power rush that also impairs the enemy. Overall, like I just kind of cleaned up with my Priya, so the match ended pretty quickly just because my Priya with double attack and rampage can end a lot of matches, especially when there's red tunes on defense. Anyway, thank you everyone for watching and listening to my video. I hope this gave you a general idea about how I approach Jacki lead defense teams, and hopefully might have incited some creativity in your own teams.